I just want to welcome and greet General Klotz for being here. I really enjoyed visiting with you in my office within the last week or so about many of the big issues facing the NNSA and the other witnesses here today, Deputy Administrator Harrington, Brigadier General Davis, and Admiral Caldwell. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service to the country. I think it's terrifically important that the work that you do. And as you know, New Mexico's 2 national labs are a critical part of the NNSA's infrastructure and provide indispensable support for your mission to keep the nation's stockpiles safe, reliable, and secure. At Sandia National Laboratory, they've hired 35% of their current staff in the last 5 years to support the life extension projects that are going on there. And at Los Alamos, the lab is embarking on plans to revitalize Cold War era infrastructure. And I couldn't agree more with both the chairman and the co-chairman that we need to keep our costs under control, but we also need to do the job right. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I'm going to focus my questions today on when we talk about cost control. The big project they're working on at Sandia is the B-61. The B-61, the trend has been to keep it within budget and to do it on time. And I'm wondering what are the lessons there, because I think we have done a good job in that respect. And then I'd like to ask about how much NNSA budgets need to increase to address the aging stockpile. You all know that's an issue that's out there. And then there is a GAO report on the plutonium infrastructure strategy, and they raise some issues there, and I'm going to ask about that and where we're headed on that plutonium infrastructure strategy. All of this costs money. We need to keep the budgets under control, but as I said, we need to do it right. And I thank you again for your service. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Before we get into some of the details on the upcoming budget, I'd like to step back and take a look at the overall funding picture. Does this, how does this budget compare to the NNSA's budget request in the year of the previous administration, fiscal year 2008? Are we, where are we in terms of up, down on that?
Well, I think a good round number for how much the overall NNSA budget has increased since then is about 40%.
About 40%.
Maybe closer to 37%.
Okay. And my understanding is that there's an incredible amount of scientific and technical work that needs to be done in future years as the stockpile ages and needs further work to keep it safe, secure, and reliable. Do you expect future NNSA budgets to need to increase further to continue to address the aging stockpile?
Yes, sir, we do. And in our budget submission for this year, we included our projections for the future year's nuclear security program out through the fiscal year 2021, and it shows an increase in all of the budget lines each of those years, except for 1 year for naval reactors. And I will say right up front that there will probably be some additional costs which we will add there, because one of the things we have done, and part of these management improvements, is to be much more rigorous about how we do analysis of alternatives, define mission requirements, and do independent cost reviews. And some of the things that we know we're going to have to pay for in the so-called out years, we still have to baseline those and come in with the costs.
Now, I'd like to move on to the work to replace the aging CMR facility at Los Alamos. The GAO report, which was released this month, highlighted the plutonium infrastructure strategy, and I'm quoting from them now, quote, uncertain and possibly underestimated, end quote, and that, quote, this uncertainty is due to the fact that NNSA has not yet determined the number of additional modular buildings that may be required, end quote, at the Los Alamos lab. Where are we on this issue? Where do you see this going at this point in terms of the demands that are on you from various agencies?
Well, thank you for that question. In fact, that is one of the lines in our future year's budget that will change as time goes through. And, I agree with the GAO's assessment, but one of the reasons why that's the case is the GAO has been very clear in reports over the past decade or so that the NNSA and the DOE need to do a better job in terms of defining requirements, holding to those requirements, doing rigorous analysis of alternatives, cost estimations. So we need to do that process with the modules. We are beginning the analysis of alternatives of how we create the additional space at Los Alamos that we need to carry out the congressional mandate to produce or demonstrate a capability to produce war reserve plutonium pits in the years ahead. So until we have that and until we can baseline the cost of that, we won't know for certain what the costs are. There's a tendency in Washington, both on the executive side and I would dare say on the congressional side as well, to ask for a number very, very early on in a project. I think until you have done that kind of analysis, any number you have is a guess. We would like to be more precise and more accurate in terms of providing what we think the cost will be.
And the budget includes funding for the initial design and development of a trusted, strategic, radiation-hardened advanced microelectronics capability, which Sandia plays an important role supporting through the Trusted Foundry at the Microsystems and Engineering Science Applications, what's called the MESA complex. Do you agree that the core competency on microsystems design at Sandia is an important national security asset?
Absolutely. And in fact, our only facility for producing radiation-hardened microelectronics that can operate in a nuclear environment is MESA, the Microsystems Engineering Science Applications at Sandia National Laboratory. It, too, is another facility which has been around for a while and is a little long in the tooth, but more importantly, the technology in this area continues to evolve. Sandia is still producing chips using 6-inch silicon wafers. Industry has already moved on to 8-inch and projected to go even further. So there are things we need to do to the facility to sustain it. There are things we need to do to the capabilities within MESA to make sure that we can continue to provide this vital capability.
Thank you very much, General. Yield back, Mr. Chairman.